I said sit down. The flight attendant's voice sliced through the quiet cabin, her words dripping with contempt. Passengers froze. The trembling girl in seat 17A clutched her stomach, pale and sweating. I just need a minute, she whispered, her voice weak. But before she could finish, the woman's hand flew across her cheek. Slap. The sound echoed through the cabin. If you're watching this, stop scrolling because what happened next left the entire flight speechless. Now, let's go back to how it all began. Amara was just 16. Brilliant, soft-spoken, and the kind of girl who smiled at strangers even when she was hurting inside. She'd been battling sickle cell anemia all her life, a disease that stole her energy and left her body in constant pain. But today was supposed to be special. Her mother, Diane Lawson, a top CEO of a London tech firm, was flying her to New York for a long-awaited treatment trial. As they boarded the flight, Diane was called to handle a quick business emergency at the gate. "Sweetheart, sit tight. I'll be right back," she said, squeezing her daughter's hand. Minutes later, the cabin began to fill. Amara felt dizzy. The air was thick, her chest tight, her vision blurred. She reached for her water bottle, but it slipped from her shaking hand and rolled under the seat of a nearby passenger. That's when the flight attendant arrived. A tall white woman with a tight bun and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Her name tag read Rebecca. "Miss, you can't block the aisle," Rebecca said sharply. "I'm sorry. I feel sick," Amara murmured, holding her stomach. Rebecca frowned. "Then you should have thought of that before boarding. Move or sit, now." Amara tried to stand, but her knees gave out. The man beside her reached out. "She doesn't look well, maybe she needs." "I said sit down," Rebecca barked, cutting him off. And then she did the unthinkable. She slapped Amara across the face. Gasps filled the cabin. The girl's head tilted to the side, her eyes wide in shock. Tears welled. "You're hurting me," she whispered. The man beside her stood up. "Are you out of your mind? She's a child." "Sir, please return to your seat," Rebecca snapped, but her voice shook now. She knew she'd gone too far. Just then, Diane returned. She stopped mid-step, her hand tightening around her boarding pass. "What did you just do to my daughter?" she asked quietly, but her voice carried enough force to silence the cabin. Rebecca froze. "Ma'am, your daughter was being non-compliant." Diane cut her off. "Non-compliant?" She stepped forward, eyes burning. "That non-compliant child is chronically ill and barely holding herself together." She knelt beside Amara, cupping her face gently. "Baby, breathe. I'm here." A tear slipped down Amara's cheek. The entire cabin watched as Diane stood, pulling a sleek black phone from her bag. She dialed quickly. "This is Diane Lawson," she said calmly into the phone. "Yes, I'm on flight to 76 to New York. One of your flight attendants just assaulted my daughter." The moment she said her name, something changed. Rebecca's face went white. Diane Lawson wasn't just any passenger, she was the CEO of Skylink Technologies, one of the airline's biggest tech partners. Passengers whispered, cameras recording. The captain was alerted. Within minutes, the head steward approached, apologizing profusely. "Ma'am, we are deeply sorry. Please allow us to escort your daughter to first class." Diane's voice was steady. "You're not escorting her anywhere until she's seen by a medic. And she won't move until I speak to your supervisor. On record." The air felt electric. Rebecca trembled, tears in her eyes now. I didn't mean." Diane turned to her. "No, you did. You looked at a black girl who didn't immediately obey and decided she was trouble. That's the problem." Silence. Even the engine seemed to hum more quietly. When paramedics arrived, Amara was stable but shaken. Diane refused to leave her side. As they were escorted off the plane, passengers clapped not out of pity, but out of respect. The next morning, the story was everywhere. #JusticeForAmara trended across Twitter and TikTok. The airline issued a public apology. Rebecca was suspended pending investigation. And in a powerful moment captured by journalists, Diane held a press conference. No parent should have to prove their child's humanity before they're shown kindness, she said. And no sick child deserves violence in place of care. Weeks later, Amara's treatment began. Her health improved. One afternoon, while watching the sunset from their apartment window, she looked at her mom and asked, Why do people hurt others just because they look different? Diane smiled sadly. Because they forget we all share the same sky, baby. But someday, kindness will outshine fear. The story reminds us, sometimes power isn't about titles or wealth. It's about standing up when the world expects you to stay silent. Never assume someone's worth by what you see on the surface. If this story moved you, don't just scroll share it. Someone needs this reminder today. Subscribe for more real stories that open eyes and touch hearts.